Hey, y'all, welcome back. I'm super excited to bring you another case study episode for Systems in Session. And this one is going to be a little different than the other ones have been because this is the third person to join Systems in Session, but that was a good 8 months ago, guys. So I feel like she's done a lot in the time since she's joined Systems in Session. And so I feel like because of the distance between when she first enrolled and when she finished her first container, and now I feel like the stories that we are going to tell are a little bit different than the other case studies where I interviewed my client almost instantly when they finished the container. So I do think that this is going to be like a different kind of conversation. And I'm going to start by introducing you to Emily. And I'm going to tell you how she came to join Systems in Session. And then I'm going to let her correct me and tell you her version. So way back in May, I did a launch for the CRM Blueprint, which I have said goodbye to. In case you did not know, the CRM Blueprint is no more. I am all in on Systems in Session for this year. But what I want to share is that after I did a launch and I only sold 4 seats, I sent out one of those "Why did you not buy" surveys. And Emily was one of the people who answered. And to the question, "Why did you not buy the course?" she answers, "I am to a fault, DIY or die," which is so funny since she ended up joining my Done With You container. I think it was 3 days later. So Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
So first tell me about how you came into Systems in Session, because I find it really ironic that when I sent out the survey, you had no intention of working with me, no intention of buying my course. And then all of a sudden I was getting a strike notification that you joined Systems in Session. So tell me a little bit about that decision.
I think that I had been a longtime listener of your podcast, which I found, through the Podverse, through somebody else's podcast, probably. I had been listening to a lot of what you had to say, and I knew that you were like, that you knew what you were talking about, I guess is a good way to say it. The CRM Blueprint, you must have, if I said I was more DIY, that's absolutely true. The idea of just having somebody do it for me felt too much outsource, like too much of an outsource, too much out of my control. I'm not going to be touching it. And then somewhere in between you sending out that survey and me giving that response, I did hear you say on your podcast, "I'm offering this other thing now." And the minute that you offered it, I was like, well, that's the right thing. Like, I want to do it, but I want support and especially accountability. So I got both. And I had never seen that service offered before. Like I'm going to be with you, but you're going to do the work. So you're going to be in the driver's seat doing it. That was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, that's the right model for me. And I don't think that model is out there that much. So good for you.
I don't
Good
think it's
job.
out there that much. Oh, well, thank you. I'll
Yeah.
pat myself on the back.
Well, I mean, outsourcing is like, everybody talks about how outsourcing is so smart and it's the only way to do something if you can't do it yourself as well now. So everybody wants to outsource. And this was different.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to my bestie. Hey, Kate, if you're listening to this, you feel free to vox me and tell me I told you so. So my best friend, Kate Hyde, she's actually been on the podcast before. She has a program where she does Done With You website design. And I'm going to admit publicly, I don't know that I've ever said this in the podcast, but I told her I thought she was crazy. I'm like, who is going to want to like pay you to do it with you? And now I have modified my entire fucking business. This is my signature offer. I've got this and email like you mean it, and I'm not selling anything else going forward, at least for the foreseeable future. So I do feel like my thoughts on this really changed. And of course, you've heard this, but I'm going to say it again in case the listening audience haven't heard the million of other times that I've mentioned this. But I created this container for myself. I didn't create it for y'all. I created it because I could no longer do the implementation. It was wearing down on my mental health. And so I was like, what do I actually enjoy about this job? I enjoy telling people what to do. I enjoy telling you that you did a job well, and I enjoy telling you how to fix it. That is how systems in session was created. But now I see it from your perspective and the other clients who have gone through the container. And I'm like, holy shit, I've really created something here based on what you guys come out on the other side with, which is not why I created it. And I don't think that I could have even envisioned that you guys would come out on the other side of the container with anything other than your system's done, which honestly, I feel like at this point isn't even the biggest result that you guys are leaving the container with,
Right.
oddly enough.
Well, Coley, too, you have the soul of a teacher. Like, I know you've been one, but you said you like to tell people what to do. But I have a sneaky suspicion you enjoy the teaching process enough that it really lights you up when people are learning from you. And that is like, we leave school and we're like all grown up and we don't get that many chances to learn anymore unless we, it's, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't say that as eloquently as I could have, but I just think that's part of it for you is that you really get something out of showing other people how to do this thing that you have discovered is really important for all of us to know in order to do what we're trying to do.
I mean, I used to think the same way about everybody's probably going to tune me out when I say this, but algebra, calculus, and in my later years, more specifically statistics, I
Yeah.
did get a lot of joy out of explaining something that none of my college students felt was applicable to their life that they were ever going to use outside of the classroom. Because I mean, I wasn't typically teaching math majors. I wasn't teaching people that
Mm-hmm.
were, in fact, going to use the math and the statistics in their actual jobs. I was teaching people who were in my classes because they needed it to graduate. And so I had to find a way to get them to understand it, but to also not hate me every time they came into the classroom. So I did miss that a little bit. It's the only thing that made me like, I guess, double blink, if you will. After Chloe finally went to school, that is when my mother in law really started kicking up her campaign of, are you going back to grad school to get your PhD? To which I always adamantly said, hell no. But the part that made me reconsider was, should I go back and finish a PhD so that I can go back to the classroom? And clearly, 13 years, 15 years later, I am still self employed. I did not, in fact, return to a college classroom, but helping students, helping other people understand things that they find to be complicated is definitely something that brings me joy.
I see it. I feel it. I have benefited from it.
Oh, okay, so let's get into what your systems look like before you joined, because I said we were going to, take a couple different paths.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I feel like your story of what your systems were like before you joined is also very different than the other people who have gone through
Okay.
systems in session. So, what CRM were you using and how would you describe the systems that you had before you joined the program?
Okay. Before I had I think we would call it cobbled together system. I did have a CRM that the thing I really loved about it the best, should I say what it's called?
Yeah.
It was called Daylight and it's Mac specific. It was not cheap. I think it is probably best suited for people who are maybe in a sales and heavily networked environment. The thing I loved about Daylight and why I stuck with it for so long was because it had an extension that hooked into the Apple Mail program. And inside the Apple Mail app, you could link the email to the project.
Okay. I mean,
It
that
had
sounds pretty cool. Is
yeah.
Dubsado
So
listening?
right, exactly. And I have to say, like, I did try Dubsado, I believe it was 2020 or 2019. And the thing about it that made me rage quit was that it didn't do that. Okay, but Daylight did not have contracts built in. It did not have a scheduler. It did not have all of the other pieces. So it had the part where, it also had a very robust project management. Like there were pipelines that you could plug into a project. So that was good. So I used it for project management of my workflow and I used it for communication. I'm sure I didn't use it as much and as well as I could have, like maximized what it did. But scheduling was absolutely manual, back and forth email for years until I tried Calendly, I tried Google, appointments. I had Sign Now. I had, like e-contracts over here. And everything was just coming from a different bucket. And I was trying to integrate it all together and, quite frankly, pay for as little as possible, because I have always tried to keep my overhead very low as a somewhat low volume
Mhm.
photographer. So yeah, that was my system, the old cobbled together system.
Well, but you actually had one when you came into Systems in Session. So how long did you have HoneyBook before you joined Systems in Session?
Not long.
Oh, okay. You had just
Like,
started.
no, I really had just started. I hadn't built anything in it. It came free with PickTime.
Yep.
I joined PickTime first, and then PickTime said, "Hey, you can have HoneyBook free for a year if you."
Yeah.
So that was why I chose it. I Knowing now what I know, like I probably could have easily have picked just as easily have picked Dubsado,
Okay.
but
I- I'm going to
um,
cut her off and I'm going to say no. Emily would not have done as well with Dubsado. We're going to talk about the specific things that she did,
I know
but
why now.
HoneyBook,
Now I know
yes.
why, but
Now
I
you
did
know
not
why.
know that then. Right, right, right.
So HoneyBook was absolutely the perfect fit for her. And I feel like the part that she left out of the story, and maybe she'll correct me, one of the first things that she said on our kickoff call, or one of our first ones, was she's like, well, I tried to put my systems together in HoneyBook based on the things that you've said on the podcast. And I want to give Emily like her due right now, because when I hopped in, what she had done was actually pretty decent. And I think you all know that is a high compliment coming from me, from someone who, doesn't have my course and maybe YouTubed their way to learning some things. The things that she had created were actually pretty good for someone who had DIY'd those parts. Now, it was like the bigger picture that I think that she was struggling with that we really jumped in and started working on. And I didn't realize that you'd only had HoneyBook for a hot minute. I thought that you had, had it for a little bit longer than that. And the things that you had put together really weren't bad, because I will say you're one of the few people in Systems in Session. I don't feel like we did anywhere near as much automation planning, asset creation as I did with the other people in the container, because you and I started from a different spot. So, Emily, what's the first thing that we tackled inside of Systems in Session?
I feel like we built some automations together. You're right. You put out a podcast that had very explicit, like, take a look at this, then this, and this, and it was all mapped on what the client journey should be as you see it. And so that was like super clear. And I was like, she's telling me what to do. I can just go and do that. She's telling me what it is. So I was going through that. What is the first thing? The first thing that we did had nothing to do with systems.
Yeah, that's the point. What was it?
You told me that I needed to raise my prices.
Yes. So, one of the reasons that I'm kind of excited to talk to Emily about her specific journey is every time I get people that are asking me about Systems in Session. And I've had a couple people that were specifically like, oh, but I don't think my offers are where they need to be. I'm like, oh, don't you worry. We're not building anything in HoneyBook or Dubsado or whatever your tool is until I'm clear on what your offer is and it's where it needs to be. And I make sure that it is something that you are going to be able to go forward and sell.
Doing that process with you, first of all, you just tell it like it is, but also, and you're bossy. But also doing that process with you in the context of, well, we're building systems here, and I don't want to spend any time until we're clear and like it's going to be worth our time and effort. That for me, and maybe for other people who struggle with a little bit of like, my pricing is all tangled up with my sense of confidence or worth, or like, what is my art worth, and all of these things that I think that creative people can get tangled up in, which I certainly have work to do in that area. Untangling away, like doing it away from that tangle and just doing it with you in like this is just business here. Like, and we're about to put in a lot of time and energy to build a whole thing around it. So let's get clear on what it is and what you're going to charge for it and what's going to be financially viable. That was super helpful for me. I don't think I could possibly be the only person out there who struggles with can I charge more? Is my work good enough? Like,
Hmm.
I know that that is a scary monster in some people's closet. So it was good for me to do that with you instead of, you know, on my own or even in the context of looking at my creative work.
Yes. Literally, that's why she's here, guys.
Yep.
I feel like in a lot of ways, what I did with Emily was, she was the third person to join the container. And I don't know that I've actually said this out loud, but for those of you listening that don't know, the first three people that joined were all Honeybook. So I think you guys know how I feel about that. I was like, is anybody who has Dubsado ever going to join this offer? Now, person number 4 was Erin. She has already done a case study episode. I will have it linked in the show notes. She was the fourth person to join, but the first person using Dubsado. So I will say with the first three people, not only were we kind of figuring out what systems in session was going to be, or at least I was figuring it out as I was working with them. And not only did I kind of do very different things with the first three people than I ended up doing with the rest of them. With Emily, I don't know that we actually started looking at your automations for like 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like we took that 2 or 3 weeks to really look at your offers and your pricing and how it was structured. And it really helped me as not just a system strategist, but kind of going back to the photographer coach, the business coach that I don't often get to like highlight that part of my brain and my skill set. It was amazing to me because I really do feel like by the time we ended up with your booking automation, and then we can talk about what happened when you put it out in the world, I really do feel like you were one of the first people that showed me that when everything is said and done, the automation is not actually the most important thing that you're getting out of systems in session. It's the confidence in your offers and your business, and that the systems will support it on the other side. So, like, you were that first person that I was like, okay, but like Emily came to me in a different spot. Maybe it's going to be different. And then I got the same response from person number 4 and person number 6 and person number 7. And I'm skipping because, again, you guys are all in different spots. But like many of you ended up saying the exact same things. And I was like, okay, like I need to talk about this more because clearly this is not what I thought was going to be an outcome of this container. But now that I've been told it at this point by like 8 different clients, I'm like, okay, no, maybe this is the thing that I should be telling people is an actual result of working with me in the 60 days.
Having systems that feel robust and legit makes me feel more robust and legit as a business person. Like, that's, I think that is a big takeaway for me, is that, like, I was doing it fine before. I don't think I was flaking out on people. I don't think I was showing up in an unprofessional way. And I also don't think everything was such a hot mess on the back end. It was not awesome. Like, it wasn't as easy as it is now, but it just putting the work and time into building up the whole structure does build up the whole structure. And it results in a feeling of like, oh yeah, I got this a little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a big girl. Like,
You're a big girl.
I'm a big girl. So yeah, it's been helpful on a variety of levels.
And so
Mhm.
let's get into your prices first. So we set your prices, and you did raise them a little bit, and you had legacy versus new people coming in. Like we did all of these things. But then you got thrown a curveball
I did
literally
get,
right
yeah.
before we were ready to put everything together. So I do also want to say, in addition to me working with Emily on her actual offer first, we also dove headfirst into creating a client hub and Airtable because it was something that she wanted to do. It's not something that I typically do in systems in session, but I was like, hey, yeah, we can make this work. So we also did that. And then it kind of felt like we finally got around to the systems. Now, we ended up starting with your legacy client because as someone who's been in business as long as you actually
Mhm.
have quite a like huge roster of people that you have worked with in the past. And so we wanted to make sure that we got the process down for your legacy or repeat clients, as I like to call them.
Mhm.
And so we got that process down, and you didn't have email marketing. So that was, again, something else that I tackled with Emily. It feels like a hodgepodge, guys, but like it literally showed me that in this container, I can show up for you with the systems that you need to go forward. And that is not necessarily limited to, let me help you fix your Dubsado. Let me help you fix your HoneyBook. But I'm telling you all of this because we got it all set up. You got your email marketing program in, you got your clients in, you got your onboarding, your booking process good for your legacy clients. And then before we could even send it, you got that curveball. So let's talk about that.
Also, my 60-day container was a little stretched out because you were because you had stuff. So it was over the summer. You were going. Did you go to Disney while we
I
were in
did
the
go to
middle?
Disney,
Yeah.
and then you
So
went
I
on
had
vacation too.
some. Yeah. So there was some. It was a little bit more stretched out. So there were pockets of time where I had to just kind of see what I could move forward on my own. But the curveball was that in sort of the middle of the process, I guess, we found out that we had to move, my partner and I, and that we didn't have a huge amount of time in which to do that move. My partner is a school teacher, and we knew that we needed to be in to a new place on September 1 before September, and this was the middle of July. So we kind of had a
Mm-hmm.
hurry it up and get it out kind of situation with the move. And I don't remember exactly when I sent my first almost ever email
Mm-hmm.
out to these people who I had worked with in the past that basically said, "Hey, just wanted to say hi and let you know that I'm here and I've got this new legacy client package I've put together for you. And if you would like to book a session for the fall, here's my 5-minute booking container."
Now
And
I'm gonna
I,
hop in and I'm gonna
go
say
ahead.
this is why it's important to tell you that Emily has HoneyBook, because it is truly 5 minutes and she gets to do offer or service, whichever one you want to call it, schedule, contract, invoice. So there is no additional steps. She doesn't have to talk to them to pick a date and put it in before she sends the proposal. Like, it is truly a 5 minute booking process where she sent that form and she said, here you go. Okay.
Yeah. And then I went and started packing boxes up.
And what happened while you were packing your boxes?
I think that I had, I don't know, 12 or 13 people booked for
Yeah.
their fall session. And those 12 or 13 people may have come to me at some point in the fall anyway and said, "Oh, yeah, we remembered that we wanted to book something." But the fact that all of that happened and I almost didn't touch it, I was like, I don't even think I really appreciate what happened there because it was just it was a little bit of a blur having to move our pretty big household. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was, looking back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that was,
That
I
was
won't
pretty
say
fucking
lucky.
amazing.
It's pretty great. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a
It
good
was
thing I had
fortuitous
that.
that we were
It
working
was
together. There
fortuitous.
we go. That's our
Yes,
word for today, Emily.
very fortuitous.
No, and I mean, I know that I checked in with you and you were like, yeah, like 12, 13 people. And I was like, really? And you're like, yeah. And the thing is, I didn't have to think about it. And so, I mean, I think that that gave you the confidence to know that it was possible. Oh, and then I think at one point you said something about a client answered one of your emails and thought that you had personally sent
Oh
it,
yeah.
which often happens. I mean, because when you write your pre planned client communication, you can write it in a way to where it sounds high touch, it sounds customized to them, but it's not. Everybody else in the process is getting the same email. So, I mean, I feel like you had a couple of aha moments throughout your entire time in systems in session. Number one was that, doing the automation and the customization and all that could be done in a way to where your clients still felt taken care of and you still felt like you were part of the process because you put your whole effort in the beginning. And so even though that whole process went without you having to touch it, you still created each part. You still made sure that each part felt like you and did what you wanted it to do. And that it didn't just feel like it was robotic or like they touched a button and it wasn't you. I do feel like you've said it really felt like you.
I more so than I probably worried that it would when using automations.
Mhm.
It's definitely a part, like, I'm sure we'll talk about this. I'm coming back for a 30-day sprint in January. It's something I want to continue to refine because now I have learned to trust that the automated process is can be good for everyone. Like, it's not just good for me. It can be good for the client experience too, because they hear from me when they need to hear from me. I can definitely do better in terms of prepping them for what comes next and nurturing them along while they're not hearing from me after they book the session. So I definitely have growth in that area, and I'm coming back for more
I
systems.
know.
Yeah, but I think that learning to trust that whole process in the first place was a valuable step that I got out of the first pass at it. Was, yeah, like, oh yeah, this works. And I've had a couple of hiccups with the automations or whatever, and my whole business didn't shut down as a result. Like, it's okay. Like, sometimes people just are understanding that
Yeah.
something may not have gone exactly the way it was intended or whatever. But it's been more or less, it has been smooth.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited to hear this. And I do feel like Emily coming back for another 30-day sprint is just what I tell people all the time. Your systems are not set it and forget it. No matter how consistent your business is, you get better. Your clients change. You think of better ways to serve them. And so, as that process goes, it would behoove everybody to check back in with your systems once a quarter, twice a year, bare minimum once, annually, to make sure that the systems that you set up are still serving you. And I'm not just talking about like literally filling out your contact form to make sure that it actually works. Like, that's bare minimum, guys. I'm talking about going in, making sure that your prices are still where you want them to be, because Emily and I haven't started, but I'm sure we're going to have a pricing conversation. But also looking at your forms, are there any questions that you wish that you had asked that you weren't, and so this is your opportunity to kind of add those in? Are there any communication gaps that you did not intend when we first created your systems, that you now see, hey, one more email this week might help alleviate my clients asking me this particular question at this timeline?
Sure.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are all of the things that we are going to look at again together. But she has had time, 6 months, to see the processes that we set up the first time, see how they work. And now that she has confidence in the CRM, in the automations, in the client experience that we built together, she is going to be able to communicate what she wants in the next phase. Because I do also feel like the first time someone gets a taste of me, I am helping you build the systems that I believe will work with you. And yes, you have input, and it's not like I'm telling you you should do A, B, C, D, and there's no discussion. I mean, but I feel like you're going to have way more input this next round than you perhaps did the first time, because you've now had 6 months of experiencing all of these things inside of Honeybook. And now you're like, what else can I do?
Yeah, and I've used it for all that time. I mean, when we started, I I had basic questions that were not questions for you, but I had to figure out basic stuff like, how do I manage a project inside of that CRM? I really hadn't used it at all. And I'm a quick study. I picked it up, but I needed to use it for a while. And now that I have, um, I'm excited to go back in and be like, what else can it do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like now I can use it at a little bit more advanced level, I guess. And I know that, yeah, I'm sure I'm no expert at this point, but I am excited to make even better use of the tools that we started building and just make it better.
Yeah. So, guys, before we hit record, I was already inviting Emily to come back in another year. You guys know when I like to chat with people, I'm just like, how many times can I get you on my podcast?
Well,
But
plus you love a good success story, don't
I
you?
do love a good success story. But you know what? It's not even that you're my success story. Like, I do love sharing, particularly photographers, because in our industry, we have a lot of burnout. We have a lot of
Mhm.
people that never make it past year 2 or 3 because the photography business itself ends up being like a very expensive hobby after year 3. If you don't step up and
Right.
run it like it's a business, which in my opinion means systems, it doesn't necessarily have to, but I do feel like you get where you want to go faster when you implement systems. And this actually reminds me, way back in the beginning of this conversation, Emily said something and I wanted to interject and I bit my tongue, guys. And then by the time she was finished speaking, there was something else that I commented on. But I feel like I want to circle back now because one of the most important things that I think Emily has said while we've been talking is she said, nothing was burning down in my business. And sometimes I feel like when I am positioning what I help you do and I'm using my, messaging to bring ideal clients in, sometimes I do get stuck on focusing on the you drop the ball or there was a client that you could have booked and you were so slow they booked somebody else. I do tend to like highlight those kind of negative aspects, but I think one thing that's really cool about systems in session in general is none of you, that's actually a strong word. Let me not say none. I will say most of you don't have businesses that are burning down. Most of you don't have automations that are breaking and sending your clients the wrong emails. And, the proposal isn't able to be completed because you had an error. I would say that the majority of people in systems in session are not coming to me because of that. You're coming to me because you're tired of holding it all together. Like, yes, your clients are being taken care of. And from their perspective, the experience that you're giving them is probably pretty okay. But you're tired of manually managing everything and having to be responsible for every single thing that happens. Would you agree?
I would agree insofar as the holding it together part for me, I think was preventing me from taking things to a higher level. So we talked about this before we started recording, but I call myself a bit of a part-time photographer, or that this business is a part-time enterprise for me. And I think I've been hiding behind that word for a long time because I couldn't figure out how to squeeze it all in to like the other choices I was making at the same time, which for a long time included raising my kids. And I just couldn't, like, what's the word? I just couldn't make more out of it. Optimize, maybe
Yes.
couldn't optimize the time that I did have and the energy I did have to make the business more than what you might call a financially part-time business.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's different ways of describing part-time. There's, well, it doesn't, pay my full salary, or it doesn't take all my time. Like, there's time, there's money. So I think that something I would like to get out of this process long term is that part time can still be a choice for me, but it doesn't have to be a limitation.
Yes. What I want for you is that you still relatively work part time for the time, but that it is bringing you more of your
Yeah,
financial pie
that's,
going forward.
you said
And
that better than I did.
yes, it's a, well, you know what? It's because I mean, again, we kind of talked about this together. And next time you come on the podcast, this will be what we talk about. But for the longest time, when people asked me, are you a full time photographer? My answer to say yes, I that didn't happen until Chloe was almost in third grade. And I mean, I was in business for a long time before that because I didn't really have the time to commit, 30, 40 hours a week, whatever it was. Because I often make a joke by the time my kid went to school full time, I decided to join the PTA. So instead of having 5 days a week, I
Right.
actually still only had 3 days because 2 days a week I was volunteering in her school. So, in terms of time, strictly time, I ran a part time business until Chloe was in third grade. And
Yeah.
then it actually wasn't that long until the pandemic hit. And then she was back at home. So, I mean, legitimately, guys, I've only had 5 days a week to myself, probably since Chloe went to eighth grade. Can you imagine that? I mean,
Yes, I can.
but it doesn't mean that it only paid me like a smaller portion of, I guess, what my salary would be. those two things for me were not the same for the same amount of time. I did figure out a way once she went to school, you know, I still had limitations. I still set my capacity where I wanted it to be so that I didn't burn out. But I was actually making pretty close to what I would want to make as a full time salary. But I always like bridged what I needed to make hourly instead of like annually. I wanted to make sure that for every hour that I put in my business, I was making a certain amount of money. But of course, I was limited because I didn't get to go to work 40 hours a week like my husband did. I just wanted to make sure that we were level if you looked at like the hourly. It wasn't really until after the pandemic that I was like, oh no, like I'm trying to match my salary before I quit working and became a mother and all these things. And then that, like, I guess finally came to fruition. Some of the listeners also know one year I got really close and then I went blind. So if that's not a lesson of, running your business and all of the things, I don't know what is. But that's also what pushed me to outsource. We kind of talked about outsourcing before, but I mean, I do believe that at every stage of life, motherhood, parenthood, business, whatever it is, that you get to figure out what you have the capacity for and kind of maximize whatever that is for you. And I'm super excited that now you see that these systems are going to help you optimize the time that you put into your photography business going forward in a completely different way than you would have this same time last year.
That's true. Yep.
I'm super excited because I do believe Emily was also the first person to return for her 30-day sprint. So we're going to do it. We're going to see how it goes. And the next time that I have her on, we're going to discuss what it was like to do a 30-day sprint. And then, whatever it is that it has brought to her business, that her, new capacity has brought, I am very much looking forward to hearing that story next time you come on.
I'll be here for it.
So I hope that the listening audience, I hope that you guys are enjoying these case studies because, yes, I bring these people on because they have worked with me, because they are my clients. But honestly, I have these conversations with them because I love each and every one of them dearly. And I really do want each of you to feel like the success that they've had is also possible for you. And I say it all the time. I mean, and it's honestly, I had an episode that came out recently and I ended the podcast by saying, I don't care if you buy my course. And I truly mean that. Like, if Systems in Session is not the offer for you, that's fine. I have a lot of podcast episodes, as Emily knows, and she jumped in and started making her systems. I have a lot of freebies. I have a lot of blog posts. Guys, I have a lot of resources that are probably going to help you save more time and build some confidence that you don't currently have. But it is totally up to you to take advantage of them and start working on your systems so that you will have your time optimized inside of your business, whether you're a photographer or not. And you can actually see that the business that you are growing is going to do more for you in your current season of life and whatever comes next. So if you are interested in hearing more about Systems in Session, please go to coleyjames.com/systems to hear all about what's included at this point, because guys, it's just getting better and better. And you'll be able to read all of the amazing case studies that I have on that page from my clients who have gone through it. Because the things that they have told me are what I want for each and every one of you in the next season of business. All right, Emily, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure, and I am looking forward to our next 30 days together.
Me too.
All right, y'all, that's it for this episode. See you next time.